I had no idea I was slowly destroying my car until my mechanic hit me with a $5,400 repair bill, all because of one habit I thought was harmless. Turns out, I'd been making one small mistake for years, and it quietly destroyed my transmission. Here's the part no one talks about. Millions of drivers are doing the same thing right now. From how you sit at red lights to what you skip during maintenance, these 10 common habits are wrecking automatic cars every single day. I'm breaking them all down and showing you exactly what to do instead, so you can avoid the damage and keep your money where it belongs. Let's begin with the first most common mistake: shifting from reverse to drive while still moving. I'll admit it, I used to shift from reverse to drive while the car was still creeping backward. I figured, what's the harm? It saves a couple of seconds, right? Wrong. What I didn't realize was that every time I did that, I was throwing my transmission into a mechanical war zone. See, when you switch gears while the car's still rolling, the transmission isn't just adjusting, it's fighting against momentum, slamming the clutches and torque converter to force the wheels in the opposite direction, instantly. It's like yanking your legs to sprint in reverse while you're mid-run. It doesn't work, and something's going to snap. At first, the damage is silent, but it builds. You'll start feeling rough shifts, hesitation, maybe even a slight jerk between gears, and then one day, boom, your car refuses to move, and your mechanic hands you a $5,000 repair bill for a worn-out transmission, all because you were in too much of a rush to stop completely. Here's what you should do instead. Always come to a full stop before shifting between reverse and drive, even if it's just for a second. Let the vehicle settle, let the gears disengage, and then shift. It's the easiest habit to fix, and it can literally add years to your transmission's life. Mistake 2. Shifting to neutral at red lights. For years, I thought I was being clever. Every time I hit a red light, I'd pop the gear shift into neutral, thinking I was saving fuel and easing the strain on my engine. It felt like a smart, efficient move. Less work for the car, right? Turns out, I was dead wrong. Here's what most drivers don't know. Modern automatics are designed to minimize fuel use while idling in drive. Shifting into neutral not only messes with that logic, it actually interrupts the internal fluid pressure that keeps your transmission running smoothly. So, when you jam it back into drive as the light turns green, that clunk isn't just a sound, it's your transmission taking a hit, and every time you repeat it, you're accelerating wear on the internal components. It's one of those habits that feels harmless, but over time, it can lead to hard shifts, gear slipping, or even early transmission failure. Here's what you should do instead. Leave your car in drive at stoplights. Today's transmissions are built to handle idle time far better than people think, and the fuel savings from shifting into neutral basically zero, so don't risk it. Just keep your foot on the brake and let the car do what it was designed to do. Mistake 3. Driving on low fuel. I used to drive around with my gas light on like it was no big deal. I'd push it right down to the last few drops, telling myself I was saving time by waiting until the next fill-up. But what I didn't realize is that this simple habit was damaging my car in multiple ways. First, your fuel pump relies on gasoline not just to run, but to stay cool. When you're running near empty, that pump starts to overheat because there's not enough liquid around it to regulate the temperature, and once it runs dry too many times, it fails. And when it fails, you're looking at an $800 to $1,500 repair, sometimes more. Second, running low on fuel can introduce air pockets into the fuel system, especially in modern high-pressure setups. That air can cause inconsistent fuel delivery, poor performance, and faulty sensor readings, which directly affect how your transmission shifts and how your engine responds. And finally, when your fuel system isn't functioning properly, it sends bad data to your car's computer. That can lead to rough shifting, delayed acceleration, and even check engine lights that aren't actually from the engine. All that risk, just because I didn't feel like stopping for gas. Here's what you should do instead. Never let your tank drop below 1/4 full. Keep enough fuel in the system to cool your pump, protect your sensors, and give your engine consistent pressure. It's a simple rule, but it can save you thousands in hidden repair costs and keep your transmission running smoothly for years. Mistake 4. Checking transmission fluid the wrong way. I used to check my transmission fluid just like I checked my oil. Engine off, Car parked cold in the driveway. Turns out that method is completely wrong and could cost you your transmission. Unlike engine oil, transmission fluid needs to be checked while the engine is running, the car is in neutral or park, and the transmission is fully warmed up, meaning you've actually driven the car for at least a few minutes. Why? Because transmission fluid expands as it heats up. If you check it cold, it may read low, when it's actually at the correct level once warm. That false reading can trick you into overfilling the system, which leads to foaming, erratic shifting, and internal pressure problems that wear out seals and damage internal components. And if you're checking it with the engine off, you're not getting a real reading at all. The pump isn't circulating fluid, and what you're seeing is just what's settled in the pan, not what's flowing through the system. It's one of the most overlooked mistakes, and it's one step away from destroying your transmission based on bad info. Here's what you should do instead. Only check transmission fluid with the engine running, in neutral or park depending on your car, and after driving for at least a few minutes to fully warm the fluid. That gives you an accurate reading and helps you avoid making dangerous adjustments based on false data. Mistake 5. Resting your hand on the gear lever while driving. I'll be honest, I used to drive one-handed, with the other hand casually resting on the gear lever. It felt smooth, confident, like I was in control of the car. But here's what I didn't know. Automatic gear selectors aren't designed to carry pressure. When you rest your hand there, you're placing constant force on components like the shift fork, detent springs, and internal bushings, which are meant to engage only briefly during an actual gear change. That ongoing pressure causes excessive wear, misalignment, and over time, you'll feel it. Sloppy shifts, inconsistent engagement, or worse, your car starts hesitating between gears. In newer vehicles, where shifting is managed electronically, it can even confuse the computer and cause logic errors that lead to jerky or delayed shifting. It's the kind of mistake that feels harmless until you're paying thousands to fix a problem you didn't even know you caused. Here's what you should do instead. Keep both hands on the wheel and only touch the gear selector when you actually need to shift. That one small change can prevent unnecessary wear and help your transmission stay precise, responsive, and reliable for the long haul. Mistake 6. Using the wrong transmission fluid. This one nearly destroyed my transmission, and the worst part? I didn't even do it myself. I asked a local shop to just top off the transmission fluid. Seemed simple enough, but they added a generic fluid, assuming it was close enough. Close enough? That mistake could have cost me $5,000. Modern automatic transmissions are incredibly sensitive to fluid type. Each manufacturer uses a specific formulation, different friction modifiers, viscosity levels, and additive packages, all tuned for precise shift control and hydraulic behavior. Put the wrong fluid in, you risk slipping gears, delayed shifting, sensor malfunctions, and even total hydraulic failure. And here's the kicker: it doesn't always happen right away. The damage builds up silently until one day your car won't move, and your powertrain warranty, it's void. One careless top-off, and your entire transmission could be toast, all because someone used the wrong bottle. Here's what you should do instead. Only use the exact transmission fluid specified by your manufacturer. No substitutions, no guesses. Check the owner's manual or the label under the hood, and if a shop can't confirm they're using the OEM-approved fluid, walk away. The cost of getting it wrong is just too high. Mistake 7. Not using the parking brake. I used to think the P on the gear selector was all I needed to park my car. But here's the ugly truth. Shifting into park doesn't actually lock the car in place with the brakes. It relies on a small internal component called the parking pawl, a tiny metal pin inside the transmission that locks the output shaft to prevent movement. When you don't use the parking brake, the entire weight of your car, all 4,000 plus pounds of it, is resting on that little pin. On flat ground, it's risky. On even a slight slope, it's dangerous. If another car bumps yours, or if the slope shifts pressure just enough, that parking pawl can bend, snap, or shear off completely. And once that happens, you're looking at serious internal transmission damage, possibly requiring a full rebuild. Even worse, a broken pawl can fail to hold your car in place at all, turning your parked vehicle into a runaway hazard. Here's what you should do instead. Always engage the parking brake before shifting into park, especially on hills or uneven terrain. It takes 1 second, costs nothing, and relieves the stress from your transmission. Don't rely on a $4,000 gearbox to do what a $15 cable and brake lever were built for. Mistake 8. Idling to warm up. Growing up, I was always told to start the car, let it idle for 10 minutes, and then drive, especially on cold mornings. So I did exactly that. Every winter, every early morning, every time I wanted to protect the engine. But what no one told me is that modern cars don't need or want long idle times. In fact, that old school habit is now doing more harm than good. Here's why. Your transmission fluid doesn't fully circulate until you're actually moving. Letting the engine idle warms it slightly, but the transmission stays cold. That cold, thick fluid means poor lubrication, more internal friction, and faster wear, especially in the first few minutes of driving. Add to that the fact that idling burns fuel inefficiently and builds up condensation in the exhaust system. And you're not saving your car, you're hurting it. In today's vehicles, the fastest and safest way to warm up your car is by driving it gently, not sitting still. Here's what you should do instead. Start the engine, let it idle for 30 seconds max, then drive gently for the first few minutes. That gets both your engine and transmission up to operating temperature faster, reduces internal stress, and saves fuel in the process. Let your car warm up the right way, while rolling, not idling. Mistake 9. Ignoring software updates for your transmission. This one blew my mind, because I thought software updates were just for phones. I had no idea my transmission had its own software, and that skipping updates could lead to serious mechanical issues. Most modern automatics are controlled by a TCM, transmission control module, and over time, manufacturers release critical updates that fix bugs, smooth out rough shifts, or improve fluid pressure control. If you don't get those updates, your transmission starts to misbehave, especially during downshifts or in stop-and-go traffic. I ignored it for months. The shifting felt slightly off, until one day it started jerking between gears. The update that could have fixed it? Free. The repair? Not so much. Here's what you should do instead. At every service appointment, ask your dealer or trusted mechanic if there are TCM software updates available for your vehicle. These updates often fix problems before they cause internal damage and can save you thousands in unnecessary repairs. Mistake 10. Driving in overdrive while towing or climbing hills. When I towed my trailer up a hill for the first time, I left the transmission in drive like usual. Big mistake. I didn't realize I was asking my transmission to work overtime, literally, because overdrive gears are not meant for heavy loads or steep climbs. They're for cruising, low RPMs, flat roads. But under load, overdrive causes gear hunting, overheats the transmission fluid, and pushes the torque converter past its limits. You won't notice the damage right away, but over time, you'll get burnt fluid, slipping gears, and early transmission failure. I thought I was being gentle when I was actually slow cooking my transmission. Here's what you should do instead. When towing or driving uphill, turn off overdrive and shift into the lower gear recommended in your owner's manual. It helps regulate engine load, keeps transmission temp stable, and protects your internal components under stress. Now you know the 10 dumb mistakes that silently destroy automatic cars. Mistakes most drivers don't even realize they're making. So, which one shocked you the most? Drop a comment and let me know which habit you've been guilty of, or which one you're finally stopping today. And if this video saved you from a future repair bill, hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it could save you thousands down the road. Because here, we don't just drive, we drive smarter. But don't click off just yet. Saving your transmission is only half the story, because some of the most expensive car mistakes aren't mechanical at all. They're financial, and if you're not careful, your next loan, insurance policy, or warranty decision could cost you even more than a breakdown. I made every mistake a car owner could make, and I paid the price. From bad financing decisions to trusting the wrong insurance plan, I thought I knew what I was doing, until my car started falling apart and my wallet followed. But here's what no one tells you. Some of the worst damage to your car and your bank account doesn't happen under the hood. It happens in your loan paperwork, your insurance coverage, and the choices you make before the engine even starts. Let's start with car loans. One of the most common and expensive mistakes people make is financing a car for too long. I took out a 72-month loan to keep my payments low, but I didn't realize I'd be underwater for years. The car lost value faster than I was paying it off. And when I tried to trade it in, I owed more than it was worth. Dealers know this, and they'll roll that negative equity into your next loan, locking you into a cycle of debt. If you're not careful, you'll end up paying $40,000 for a car that's worth half that in 5 years. Then there's insurance. Most people assume full coverage means they're protected from everything. It doesn't. I learned that the hard way when someone sideswiped me and took off. My policy didn't include uninsured motorist coverage, so I paid for the repair out of pocket. And when my windshield cracked last winter, I found out I didn't have glass coverage either. These are small add-ons, a few dollars a month, but skipping them cost me hundreds. But insurance isn't just about protection. It's about pricing. Letting your coverage lapse for even a week can jack up your premium for years. I once switched providers and forgot to activate the new policy in time. That tiny gap labeled me high risk. And my new rate was 28% higher. Another silent killer? Depreciation. Most people think the car payment is the main cost of ownership. It's not. Depreciation is. The second you drive a new car off the lot, it loses thousands in value. In the first year alone, most cars drop by 20 to 30%. That's money you'll never get back, and it hits even harder if you sell early or get in a wreck. I bought new because I thought it meant reliability, but the smarter move would have been buying a car that was 1 or 2 years old. Let someone else take that initial hit. Let's talk about warranties. Extended warranties sound great, until you actually try to use one. I bought a third-party warranty that claimed to cover major mechanical failures. But when my transmission started slipping, they denied the claim because the fluid had signs of contamination. They called it neglect. I called it a scam. It turns out, most of these plans exclude common issues like gaskets, seals, electronics, and anything tied to wear and tear, which is practically everything. And here's the kicker. If you miss a single oil change or skip a dealership inspection, they can void your policy entirely. If you're going to get a warranty, it better be from the manufacturer, or it's not worth the paper it's printed on. Then, there's something I never thought about: the cost of ownership. I once bought a used luxury car at a great price, until I had to replace the air suspension. $5,000. The oil changes were 3 times more than I was used to. The insurance premiums were higher. Even replacing tires cost more. The car was affordable to buy, but it was completely unaffordable to keep. Just because the price tag looks right doesn't mean the long-term cost fits your budget. And trust me, no one at the dealership will tell you that. Another hidden trap is rolling dealership fees into your loan. I remember looking at a contract and seeing random add-ons: VIN etching, paint protection, nitrogen-filled tires, and something called theft deterrent package. The price jumped by over $2,000, and they quietly added it to my financing. I didn't realize I'd be paying interest on those garbage fees for the next 5 years. Dealers bank on the fact that you're focused on monthly payments, not the total cost. I learned to ask for a full breakdown, and to say no to everything I didn't ask for. Let's go deeper. Credit scores. A 30-point bump in your credit score can drop your interest rate by 2 or 3%. That's a difference of thousands over the life of the loan. I boosted mine just before applying, paid down 2 cards, and disputed an old account. The result? A better loan and lower monthly payment, without changing a thing about the car I was buying. Most people don't know how much money they're leaving on the table by walking into a dealership unprepared. And finally, a mistake I made that nearly killed my transmission: skipping software updates. I thought updates were just for phones and computers, but modern transmissions are computer-controlled. Manufacturers release updates to fix shifting issues, fluid pressure problems, and sensor bugs. And if you miss them, those bugs can become breakdowns. I had rough downshifts for months, and the fix? A free software update at the dealer. No parts, no labor, just a file I never knew existed. That one update could have saved me thousands if I had caught it sooner. So if you take one thing away from this, it's this: your car's biggest threat isn't just mechanical, it's financial. One bad insurance decision, one long loan, one ignored software fix. That's all it takes to turn your reliable car into a money trap. Avoid the traps, ask questions, and most of all, don't just drive smart, own smart. Thanks for watching. I hope this information helped you avoid some costly mistakes and keep your car running stronger for longer. Stay smart, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.